Sales at the highest levels. What are some of these traits and what are some of the things that you really need to start embodying to take you to that level and really put you in that upper echelon? All right. If you guys haven't already, check out the description. I have a free sales quiz that I created that will give you a free set of questions based on your style. Make sure you check that out. I just released it. What are some traits? Well, here's a common mistake that I see in a lot of salespeople. When a client or a customer says something to you at a meeting, on the phone, at the door, first interaction, 20th interaction, it doesn't matter. The moment that you take something personal and or flinch, it's a sign of weakness. Then you start getting upset or you start defending yourself and it becomes an argument, a back and forth. You can never do that if you want to be a high-level salesperson. Why? We're non-reactionary. It doesn't matter what they say. They could literally attack us with their words. No skin off our back. We're unbothered and we don't respond to it. Now, we respond accordingly based on what the situation presents to us. We respond accordingly and we give, based on the context in communication, the right answer. That's it. We don't get caught up in an argument. We don't feel like we need to justify anything. Because the moment you do that, you're now arguing. You activate the critical factor in somebody's mind, which you learn in hypnosis, which will shut off the conscious capacity of the mind to be influenced and persuaded. And they now will be forced to justify their position. Because what happens when we argue? It's one position against another. Each one wants to dig their heels in and defend the position. And when you force people to defend their position, you can't influence them, you can't persuade them. Why? They're now obligated to defend their position. Cue right now, examples, most arguments about politics, right? Most arguments about religion. It's never one side conceding or the other, is it? It's simply just a back and forth argument, and in the end, they walk away both upset. You don't want that as a salesperson, okay? Number 2. Meeting people where they're at and understanding where somebody's at in regards to their train of thought and their emotional state. Big mistake I see a lot of salespeople make, and this one takes a lot of training, time, and experience to really, truly develop. What I mean by that is when you call somebody or you start talking to them, meet them where they're at, emotionally, but also conversationally. You know, I still work with a lot of real estate agents and all kinds of salespeople, really, but it fascinates me when they call somebody or they start an interaction, they follow their script, which is fine, but they're not paying attention to what the prospect is saying. Because a lot of times the prospect, when they start talking and the interaction begins, they're really discussing and bringing up things that are the 4th or 5th or 6th question on the script or somewhere on a different part of the script where the right thing to do conversationally would be to meet them where they're at and ask questions around where their current train of thought is. Then once they have them, then they can move them around and take them where they want. But see, that's a problem. Why? Because that's what annihilates rapport. That will absolutely shatter rapport. Sorry guys, I got one of the cats here. That's what causes people to say, okay, this dude's not listening to me. They're not paying attention. They don't care. It gives people a negative emotion internally, which then in turn on the surface means I don't want to talk to you. Why? That negative emotion is associated with you. Same thing emotionally. If I get people that are irate on the phone, you got to get irate with them. If they're frustrated, you got to be frustrated with them. If they're sighing, you got to give them a sigh too. Meet them where they're at. Speak their language. Feel their pain, compassion, empathy. Again, not going to be easy for the stone cold rookie. However, it's something that you can work towards, right? I think a lot of these things open up people's eyes to realize that sales and communication is a lot more nuanced and detailed than they want to admit. Because when you really want to take it to those like really high levels, guys, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of training, and you got to learn a lot of stuff. So if you're not really into this or like interested in it and not like geeking out on communication like I have for a long time, this might not be the game for you if you want to take it to that level. Because what we're seeing happen right now is a rapid acceleration of technology, And you don't want to be the salesperson that goes on Chat GPT to get your script. My scripts that I give my people in my programs annihilates Chat GPT. If you rely on that, you're basically saying, I don't know how to sell. I don't have the skill set. I need to go to the technology. But this is what people miss. One of the points, and this could be point number 3, is we never want to sound like somebody else or say the exact same things as them, right? Because then we get put into a box. They label us as a salesperson, then they don't want to deal with us, right? Well, if everybody's going to Chat GPT and AI, what do you think it's spitting out? The same thing to everybody. So you don't want to be constricted by that pathway, because then you will, in essence, be just like everybody else. It's no different right now with videos and all that stuff. If you're just, again, using these prompts, they're giving the same ideas to everybody. You're not being unique. And I field tested this stuff. It's crazy. But when you become a student of the art and you learn these things, you're not going to have to worry about Chat GPT, right? So let's talk about this third point a little bit, which is not saying the same thing, not sounding like everybody else. Now, I want you guys to understand this. That's more of an emotion than a conscious thing. Stop, dude. Meaning, it's how they feel. Because I don't care what field you're in, at some point you have to ask people the same questions as somebody else. Like me being primarily in real estate, right? Where are you moving to? What's your ideal time frame? Like, we have to ask those questions. The issue is we hear that when we don't have rapport with somebody. Once you guys are connected and in rapport and you've hit the hook point in the conversation, it doesn't matter. They're going to talk to you. They're going to reveal that information. They're going to give you the answers to those questions. It's not going to be a problem. But until then, you got to work your way up. So part of that is, again, how we make them feel emotionally, even from the jump. But another part is make some tweaks to the words that you're saying. Like, I won't say appointment, I'll say meeting. I won't say contract, I'll say agreement or paperwork. I'm not going to ask people, hey, do you want to list your house? No. I'm going to say help you move, get into your next home. I'm not going to ask buyers, how much are you pre-approved for? I'm going to say, are you aware of what your purchasing power is? All those little tweaks, and I have a million of them, right? Check out that sales quiz that I mentioned earlier, and it'll give you some more of these, right? All those little tweaks add up, because those are just a few of a million things that I do that won't trigger. Those things trigger, again, salesperson and that negative emotion in people's minds. And that's what you want to avoid. The more nuanced you become with your communication, the more selective you become with your words and your scripts as you develop and get better, that's not going to happen. So that point number 3, you're not going to have to worry about sounding like somebody else. Same thing with my style of selling. It's very heavily question-based, open-ended questions, right? Sometimes I challenge people, but it's very, in a way, direct at times, but also extremely indirect. It's very subtle, the style that I have. And I just created this little book that I'm looking at here for my coaching members called the Indirect Sales System. Silky smooth and subliminal, right? This is a working document that they have that right now is about 20 pages, and I'm continuously adding to it. But it goes off certain things. Like, I'll give you an example here of some of the things in the index, meaning some of the techniques and the explanations of them. So I created a bunch of questions, and then I described the techniques. So we have pattern interrupts, we have mind reading techniques, conditional closes, possibilities frame, reverse arguments, funnel frames, negative tag questions, negative ... until tag questions, reality frame, negation technique, heart openers, right? These are all descriptions of particular techniques that we use. So when I say nuance or you don't sound like somebody else, who's talking about this stuff, right? It gets pretty crazy. So as you diversify and improve your skill set, you naturally are going to drift away from everybody else, because most people are fighting, like, scale 1 to 10, from like rookie to ultimate salesperson. Once you get to 7.5 or 8, you're already going to separate yourself enough to where you're not going to sound and be like everybody else. But getting to an 8 takes time. 1 to 6, 1 to 7, not too long. 7 to 7.5, 7.5 to 8, 8 to 8.5. That starts taking a long time, right? And who knows if you'll ever get to a 10. I don't think anybody's a 10. Number 4 is this: being very particular and connected to your emotional state when you're selling. When you're selling, you need to be in tune with it, but bring something to the table. You need to be relaxed, but you need to be into what you're doing. And as obvious as that is, I don't see people doing that because so many people are so nervous or scared or worried or afraid, right? They don't realize that that's coming off when you're talking to people in person or over the phone. It's obvious. People see it, they feel it, and it negatively impacts your ability to sell. Now, I'm not saying we go out and be the clown, like, hey, right? Like that fake enthusiasm. That's not what I'm talking about. But you got to be into what you're doing. You got to be excited to go out there and help people. I think Jordan Belfort had a very good expression. He said, bottled enthusiasm. And I love it because you're enthusiastic, but you're not, again, that overly excited, fake hype type of thing. You have bottled enthusiasm. That's cool. Being relaxed, having a smile on your face, because when we think of that energetically and emotionally, that's much more pleasant to feel and be around, is it not? Who wants to be in a boardroom or be sold by somebody even one-on-one who is tense or nervous or obnoxious? No, we want to feel cool, calm, collected, at ease, relaxed, smiling. That's the emotion that people want to feel. They don't want to feel the other ones. So this is why we've always encouraged people to do rituals and all kinds of things to prep themselves before they get on the phones or go hit doors or go meet with their clients or start lead generating. Because it will come across in your voice, in your body language, in your demeanors with people, how you interact with the world, how you carry yourself. It will literally directly affect your posture and then your facial expression. And then if your facial muscles are tensed or relaxed, big difference. And those signals that people spot subconsciously communicate so much to them, much more than you think. And people they're not processing that consciously and saying, oh, he's tense. It'll just give them a negative reaction, like an emotion. No different than if we're in a dark alley and somebody starts approaching you, you're going to feel on edge because it's a potential threat. That's the same feeling that we instill in people when we're not there in that right emotional state, because everything starts from that. What's thought about and created internally gets expressed externally through your face and your body language and your physiology, right? And you have to understand that and really value that, how important that is. The more you do that, the more you start creating this complete package of like the ultimate salesperson. Here's another one. Stop dressing like you're a teenager. I don't care what your favorite influencer in flip-flops and a backwards hat is doing. Look, most influencers are broke. Let's call it like it is. And people are chasing this fake lifestyle and fake, it's BS. When I meet with clients, I'm in a suit. The lowest I've ever dressed meeting with a client has been an open, like non-tie, right, dress shirt, my suit jacket, suit pants. And then if we were doing a lot of walking or we were on a construction site or something, I wouldn't wear formal shoes. I'd wear like tennis shoes. That's the most I've ever dressed down. Otherwise, I'm in dress shoes, dress pants, jacket, open shirt. But normally I'd wear a tie. Oh, Bryan, well, that's uncomfortable. It's professional etiquette, man. Don't you want to look like $1 million? Because putting those suits on and wearing them, right, whether male or female, the world treats you differently. You're perceived differently. You perform differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. Overall, it just makes you better. So even if you're at home, that was an exercise for me when I was newer. And I would call from my apartment. If you guys remember the old channel before I deleted it, right, with 200,000 subscribers. I was making calls every day, whether in the morning, early, in the afternoon, or the evening, in a suit. Why? I was ready to go. I would run my errands in my suit. I was in a suit the first 2 or 3 years, 24/7, 365. That's what I did. But man, that gave me another level of confidence and certainty. People treated me differently. I felt good. It gave me energy, and I was ready to go. That way, if I found somebody who was ready and they were ready to meet, I didn't have to stop and get ready. I was already ready, born ready. And people overlook that stuff, but it's so important. You want to look like $1,000,000, smell like $1,000,000. You want to be the whole package. And that's what's missing in today's modern era is people are looking for shortcuts. People, instead of talking to people, calling, knocking, oh, I'm just going to make videos and I'll attract people. Dude, you get 5 views on your fucking videos. Who are you attracting? Nobody. Do both. Oh, well, it's a different time now, right? You're going to, I come off as arrogant if I wear a suit. Like the stuff that people say is just wild, dude. This is real life business. The business world has a particular etiquette and dress code. Honor it. These rules were made long before we got here, and they'll continue long after we leave. But let's wrap this thing up and talk about one more, right? I have other free resources in the description if you haven't checked them out yet, right? Focus on diversifying your skill set in the sense that you don't just learn one way of selling. And what I mean by that is this. There's the traditional stuff that's taught, and then everybody kind of repackages the same old stuff and, oh, this is my system of selling. Look, you want to be diverse in your skill set. I've seen a lot of people out there, and a lot of it is just the same stuff repackaged a different way. Be diverse. I know in my selling system, like just this is me speaking for me, there's at least 4 or 5 different methodologies and things, and probably even more if I really look into it, of different information and subjects that I pulled in to enhance my skill set and make it better. And this is why I know when I teach or when I go to places, people are always like, wow, this is incredible, or I've never heard that before, right? And this is coming in sales where everyone supposedly knows everything and has heard everything. Well, I've experimented and put my own touch on things. That's why. I've taken a lot of the traditional principles, I honor them, and I still use them, but I've developed it. And that's really what I urge a lot of you to do. And I saved this one for the end for this reason, for the people who have stuck around. Relish in this stuff, swim in it, enjoy it, master the basics, then start to experiment and add more. And this is why you guys really need to diversify your knowledge base. I've studied behavioral psychology, evolutionary psychology, neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, body language, social dynamics, right? Male, female behavior, all that stuff and more. And I've taken all that information, right, and put it into my selling system because it has to do with human beings. What we respond to, what we don't respond to, what we're attracted to, what repels us. All that stuff is important. And I've woven it into sales. And that's why I know what I do is super effective. It's evolved, it's grown, it's gotten better, and you need to do the same. But that's going to require studying, getting better, dedicating, training, experience, right? And going through the beginning phases of not being good, which turns away a lot of people, unfortunately, right? But those are just some tips that I can give you guys, mistakes and things that you really need to focus on if you really want to sell moving forward. Because as time goes on, the bar just keeps getting raised. So if you're not getting better continuously, well, you're not going to be good enough eventually. All right? Take the time to drop me a comment for the algorithm. Leave a thumbs up as well. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.